Hey everyone! Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday, and happy Black History Month. Look at my shirt. My shirt. My shirt's rep and ready. Yes. I am your host, Mallory McCoy, and welcome to this week's live streamed episode of A Monday Moment with Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment, and may my love be extended to all who need a little extra and can use a little extra, and may my light exude positivity and kindness. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. Okay. Wow. So as I have practiced being grateful, I find that I have I don't even know if you can have an overabundance of gratitude, but I feel like I do. And the moments that I recognize um, my gratitude, that they evoke such a deep emotion in me, and I'm not used to feeling that. So I'm treading through this gratefulness exercise that I'm doing. But y'all, my first thing is I got my dissertation defense date scheduled. I got my hood and my gown ordered, and I have my intent to graduate submitted. It is getting so real right now. Like I find myself just getting weepy, and just thinking about the magnitude of this moment, not only for me, but also for people around me. I closed my survey last Friday, and this evening with my professors, I'm going to start analyzing the details, and my first draft is due Friday, February 6th. My first final draft of my dissertation is due Friday, February 16th. So as much as I love hanging out, I'm going on a movie date with my husband tomorrow, but I can't do anything until next week. So T minus 3 months till Dr. Mal hits the scene so fresh, so clean. I'm so excited. And today, a special shout out to my 22 survey participants, because without you, none of this would be possible. So I'm forever indebted to you. I'm also celebrating a very fantastic concert that my children's choir had yesterday. My children's choir that I direct, Prelude, they sang like baby angels. They were so cute. And the space, we sang at the Cathedral of Immaculate Conception downtown. It was just glorious. I really felt like as I was sitting there listening to the choirs, my soul was being bathed with their beautiful singing voices, and I really felt like I ascended out of my body. Like it was just, I just love I just love singing, and I love listening to others sing, and I just love how people communicate their music. And so it was just a glorious time. And it was crazy because I was walking across Broadway downtown, and my heel broke. Like the front part of the dolphin came off out from underneath my feet. And I was like, whoa, that a heel has my heels have broken before, but it's never broken that way. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But let me tell you, the parent volunteers, they banded together. I was calling, I was like, somebody come help me, but I didn't need any help outside because the help was already there. And so they banded together. Somebody went and bought some super glue, and then I had a hair tie, and we tied my shoe on up, and I conducted in them. I walked to my car in them. I even walked to inside a restaurant and got some food in them. So when I tell you the fix was fixed, it was fixed. And so I'm just grateful for working with the youth course at Kansas City. The organization is incredible. So I was so grateful. I went to Cafe Gratitude after and had some amazing food. You have to check out my post. And as mentioned last week, I recorded a podcast with my childhood friend, Amanda, and it was perfect. I loved listening to not only the podcast of her and I interacting, but I also enjoyed listening to that version of me. That's the version that's always been inside of me, but that's the version that is living out loud right now. And so, if you haven't got a chance to listen to it, the QR code in the corner will give you the link to get straight to it. And if you're interested in coming to Denver, Colorado for the event, we'd love to have you. I'm flying out there. And that's just going to be a fun filled weekend. And lastly, I am proud to announce that I took my first and last long term sub position. I will be teaching the cutest kindergarten class at a local charter school, and their teacher is going on maternity leave. And I'm grateful because the school is being incredibly flexible with my schedule, allowing me to put my son on the bus and take my son off the bus while, accommodating and leaving. So I'm loving it. So send all good vibes to me because I have to build my teacher muscle back up, and I haven't taught every day. So I know I'm going to be big tired at the end of the first week. So send all your good vibes. And with that, then I'm going to actually change the show from uh, at 8:28 in the morning to 8:28 in the evening. And I think that although it will be kind of a little difficult for me, especially if I have longer rehearsals, to just shoom home and get to the show, to this platform, and to live stream, I think that I will be able to reach more people by doing that. So that will take effect Monday, March 4th, and I'll be sending out some marketing so that everybody's prepared and ready for that change. So from the morning to the evening, 8:28, that's my number. And look up what it means. I'm excited. I'm just excited for life. I'm excited for teaching, all of that. So let's get to it. My did you know section. So I love me a good definition, and I'm team facts over feelings. This month, I chose to focus on relationships because, like I mentioned in my last podcast or my last live stream, February has like 195 national recognized holidays or not nationally recognized, but holidays in the month. But then there's like only one federal holiday. It's President's Day, but there's 195 other days in February, which is wild because it's like the shortest month. But we all know that February is not only Black History Month, but people tend to express their love a little bit more in this month due to Valentine's Day. So I decided to dive into relationships, although that can be a tricky situation. But like I said, facts over feelings. So let's get to it. I wanted to share this with you because I don't know how it came up. I don't know how this came up one day, but hopefully you can see it. Hold on, let me see what you see. Do you see what I see? Okay, I think you do see what I see. I actually found uh, this article last year when I wrote one of my blogs, Love and Marriage Do Go Together Like a Horse and Carriage. And then today, I actually released my new blog post entitled Love and Marriage Do Not Go Together Like a Horse and Carriage. I lied. So, anyway, please read it so that you get insight of what I'm talking about. But this article was pretty important because we don't often think about relating in the logical sense, because as humans, that's what we're here to do. We're here to relate. So I loved that this particular article pointed out that there's a difference between personal relationships and social relationships, which I think that we all know. This chart gives insight to what those the different functions of those relationships. So you have your voluntary and personal relationships. These are your partners and spouses. These are your best friends. Then you have your voluntary social relationships. These are our acquaintances and like an activity partner or a check-in partner. These are not people that are in your paradigm every day, but you certainly connect with them at some point. I have many voluntary social relationships. Involuntary and personal, these are you're born into your family, so parent, child, siblings, grandparent, godparent, child, colleagues. You don't really have any choice but to be around them. Colleagues is in this. I struggle with colleagues being involuntary and personal at first, because I was trying to figure out like what were they talking about. But yeah, if you are working with people, your colleagues are a personal relationship, because you're getting to know them, because you have to connect to how you're going to communicate. And like in my instance, I was a teacher, so I'm trying to connect with my colleagues so I can know how we can better foster learning with children. So yes, an involuntary and personal relationship. And then you have involuntary social relationships. These are distant relatives, coworkers, neighbors, classmates, and teacher student. And so sometimes uh, those teacher student relationships, in my personal experience, have become involuntary and personal because you get involved with the families really quickly. I'm team, we are a trifecta, so we work together, parent, student, teacher. So I'm quick to make those relationships personal because we need to know. Then I never think, we never think about this because, again, like I said, it's so natural to build relationships, but we never think of relationships like as in different stages. So I loved that this not only gave you the different stages, or gives you the different stages, but also it gives you examples of what these different stages look like, from initiating all the way to terminating. Very interesting. And then lastly, I thought this was important. If you want to read this, I'll link this later in um, my QR code where I like to link things. It also talks about the social exchange theory, and this was. Hold on, I had to do old people stuff and make this bigger because I couldn't see. It entails a weighing of costs and rewards in a given relationship. So relationships, our rewards are outcomes that we get from a relationship that benefit us in some way, while the costs range from granting favors to providing emotional support. I thought it was important to note that commitment and interdependence are important interpersonal and psychological dimensions of a relationship. So, not just romantic relationships require commitment and interdependence, but other relationships do too. But obviously at varying degrees. So even if something's included in something, it's going to be a varying degree. Interdependence refers to the relationship between a person's well-being and involvement in a particular relationship. A person will feel interdependence in a relationship when satisfaction is high or the relationship meets important needs. The alternatives are not good, meaning the person's needs couldn't be met without the relationship. And three, investment in the relationship is high, meaning that resources might decrease or be lost without the relationship. This article also goes into oh, here it is. It's the next sentence. We can be cautioned, though, to not view social exchange theory as a tit for tat accounting of costs and rewards. We wouldn't be very good relational partners if we carried around a little notepad notating each favor or good deed we completed so that we can expect its repayment. And actually, I've been in relationships like this where people have been like, well, I've done this for you and you do this for me. And that's not good. That's not good for us to think of relationships like that. So I thought that was a nice little, especially the chart, this particular chart, and I think I tagged it in the blog too. So if you want to go look at the blog, as I think you should, there it is. So let's get into it. The topic of the week, let's talk about relationships. I first want to say that if you came here to hear, if I was going to bash the male species or speak reckless about relationships, then you need to turn me off because this is not for you. I'm opinionated, of course, but as you know, if you've been watching me, I'm team facts over feelings. So that's why I've started every episode and will continue to preface every episode with the facts or some sort of facts. Second, I know that it seems like over the past couple of years or a few years, like myself, you've probably been inundated with many uh, pieces of information about relationships, or we've seen men bashing women and women bashing men. I've also I fell victim to watching this take place, and it's been kind of sad to see actually, because in a space where we need to band together, it's crazy that we've been seeing this. But uh, I'm often disappointed to find that when people are talking in this space, they're not talking about from their own experience. So here's my opinion. So let me separate that because I'm team facts, but I also have opinions. I don't feel like you could truly speak to something you haven't personally experienced. So it's not even enough to lean into anecdotes from people who are in the experience, because their anecdotes are shaped and filtered by their own personal experience and messages they've received while living their own life from their families or their own moral compass. So when we hear someone's personal anecdote about something that they've been through, may be communicated or seemingly communicated as multi perspective, but it's actually mono perspective, because we as humans walk through life give are picking up our own experiences. So it's mono perspective, and it's usually driven in emotion. And I have witnessed people passing off their emotions as a fact when in fact it's not a fact. It's just their emotions. So we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about receiving other people's anecdotes as emotion or as the facts. We know that there's in every situation there's one side, then there's the other side, and then there's the truth, and that's the 3,000 uh, foot view. Furthermore, it's hard to accept advice from people who haven't walked the walk themselves. Experience is invaluable, and it teaches us so much. For instance, would any company throw just somebody in their CEO position without knowing what experience, or they have the education, but do they have the experience to run this company? I would think not. I would hope not. In the same sense, I'm thinking about, because it's Super Bowl week. I had to ask my husband too. I'm like, did Andy Reid ever play football? But it was almost like a dub question, because I hope that he has, so that he knows how to coach the team. If he had just got his coaching position without ever having any connection to football, I would think that that would be erroneous on the Chiefs organization to be able to do that. Just personally speaking, I know that I went my undergrad degree for music education was 5 years, and I learned more in the one semester of student teaching than I did in the prior 4.5 years that I was learning about how to teach music. So I think that that experience is so important to draw from when you're talking about anything. So I thought that that if I'm going to talk about relationships, that it's important for me to share what qualifies me to be even a or for me to be even able to speak about relationships or be in the topic of relationships. So as I make very public, I am on the downslope to 40 years old, which that's crazy for me to even say. And I've spent my lifetime navigating both personal and social relationships. At the time of this episode, I have spent almost 19 years navigating a voluntary and personal relationship with my life partner, Raymond. And prior to this, I spoke with him about this episode, and I was actually going in a different direction with this episode, but he was not comfortable with the direction that I was taking. And so, out of respect for his privacy, I changed course. Personality wise, we are opposite in every way. And as I get older, I'm learning I need to respect that. So even though my When Mallory Lives tagline is empowering journeys, crafting connections, at one story at a time, it's important for me to respect all the storytellers, whether they're covertly telling the story or overtly telling the story. Unfortunately for him, his story is 19 years intertwined with mine. So, in the spirit of authenticity, I'll do my best to tell my side of the story while respecting his privacy. It's certainly a fine line that I'm walking, but like he said in our conversation, we don't owe anyone anything. And when he said that, I felt him deeply. It was like everything just like bottomed out, and then I heard him say that. And but I also, because I yearned to and I've been thirsty for people to talk about what they've experienced in relationships, because sometimes I feel like I am Sandra Bullock in Bird Box and I have a complete shield over my eyes and I'm just trying to figure it out. um I, and I feel like also the other people's silence is communicating that they don't care about other people being successful in their relationships, or they don't have the tools themselves to assist others, which I think that it's a well, I shouldn't say that. In my personal opinion, I feel like that it's more of the latter. I'm learning that we just don't have the skills to relate, and or not learning, and my personal observation also while learning, I'm seeing that we just don't have the skills to relate. But that's not just us. Where did that come from? That came from generations and generations before, because they had to relate in a different way. And so in an effort to break these generational curses of where we are, scared to talk about our relationships, or we don't want to talk about it, I'm trying to open up that avenue to be comfortable to talk about it in a way that's respectful and not bashing others. I feel like you can talk about it and you don't have to bash the other, or the others, because there's multiple. I mean, there's so many others that you could talk about. And I also strongly believe that the failure of relationships, the society as a whole is complicit, because we're not putting proper supports in place to help people be successful. We struggle with mental health care and other health care that we need in relationships. Mental health care takes precedence, of course, but we don't talk about uh, the mental. We don't talk about spiritual, gaining spiritual strength, whatever that means to you. We don't talk about physical strength, because someone's physical status can also put strains in relationships, romantic, familial, personal, social, otherwise. We're just not doing great in this as a society. And furthermore, I'm trying to pop the bubble of magical thinking around romantic relationships specifically, because I feel like that's the most detrimental of all. Like, we're programmed from little kids to believe in this fairy tale of love stories, and someone's gonna, as little girls, someone's gonna come save us, and that's just not, that's not real. You, like I wrote, like, you don't have to romantically relate to someone to build skill sets for yourself. Um, so uh, I I just want to say, um, that not only is it important that you have lived the experience that you're talking about, um, it's also important to continually grow. So, even though I'm talking about an experience that I've had, or these experiences that I've had, I have certainly not mastered all the skill sets needed for successful relationships. Because everything in life requires skill sets, and especially relationships, both intimate and platonic, communication skills, conflict resolution skills, listening skills, emotional intelligence skills, empathy skills, honest self reflection, financial management skills, intimacy skills, sex skills, because intimacy and sex are not the same, teamwork, compassion, patience, so many more. I have glows and I have grows in all of these skill sets. But in growing my emotional intelligence, at least I'm aware enough to reflect on where I glow and where I need to grow. Not only is it an important skill to have for relationships with others, but even more important for the relationship that you have with yourself. So that brings me to this point. The most important relationship that you'll ever have in this life is the relationship that you have with yourself. You are your longest relationship. So, growing yourself from the inside out is the best thing that you can do for yourself and other relationships you want to have outside of you. Case in point, I because I've been writing a dissertation, I have not had much time to read for leisure, but I have recently been able to skim read a book called The Eight Rules of Love by Jay Shetty. And I'm not all the way through it because I've been researching, like I said, for my dissertation. Uh, and I can't wait to read for leisure again. That's coming soon. But in this book, he talks about four levels, or four classrooms, or four learning spaces. He calls them ashrams of love. And preparing for love is the first ashram of love, where he says, like, when we prepare for love, we're learning how to love ourselves in solitude. And in a space of solitude, he says, we learn to understand ourselves, heal our own pain, and to care for ourselves. We acquire skills like compassion, empathy, and patience. This prepares us to share love because we'll need these qualities when we love someone else. So you have to give that to yourself first before you're able to give it to someone else. We also examine our past relationships to avoid making the same mistakes in relationships going forward. The second ashram is practicing love. And this is where we extend our love to others while still pouring love into ourselves, which can be a tricky balance. And then when you add another human in the mix, so no, we're not even talking about adding kids in the mix, that can be a very, very difficult thing to do. Um, Jay Shetty says the third ashram, protecting love, is a healing space where we retreat to seek peace. We find ourselves here either after a breakup, a loss, or when family life has downshifted to require less of our attention. After learning to give love to others and giving so much, this is an interlude where we reflect on the experience of loving others, discover what might block our ability to love, and work on forgiveness and healing. Here, we ultimately learn how to resolve conflict so we can protect our love. We also protect ourselves and our ability to love by learning when we can break up and how to deal with it if we do. And then in the fourth ashram, perfecting love, Jay says, this is where the epitome of love is, when we're extending our love to every person and every moment of our life. In this stage, our love becomes boundless. We realize we can experience love at any time with anyone. We learn how to love again and again, and we strive for this perfection but we never achieve it. I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Shetty, but he has such a beautiful way of explaining many things in life. I love his books and I love his podcast. And I've listened and have read both. And so if you want to buy the book, it's if you scan this QR code in the corner right here, you can use my Amazon link to do it. And if you go there, it'll take you straight to that space. So hey, someone's watching me. Hi, Jonathan. So I just want to know, and it doesn't have to be in this space right now, but do you have any questions you'd like for me to answer about relationships? Note that I am not a professional, quote unquote, but I know that you don't have to be a professional to answer questions, as we have witnessed, but also I know that I have experience to support it. And in my own walk with emotional intelligence, I may be able to give some insight that is intelligible. I will be because I'm intelligible. But and being relational, romantically relational for 19 years and almost 19 years. February 26th is when our souls first collided. And then being in a marriage for almost 14 years. Yikes. Our marriage is like teenager, baby teenager. Uh, I certainly am able to offer it. You don't have to do it at this moment. You can email me when MalloryLives@gmail.com. You can DM me, and then I can share it out on future podcasts. But I'd be honored to help you out. And if I don't know the answer, I know people that do. My social circle is vast. So um, let me go to the oh, hold on. I can't get my life together. So before I end, I'd like to just to give you affirmations and, of course, quotes. Actually, I have an excerpt from Jay Shetty's book today because it's important. But I first want to start with this particular podcast, Real Love Scenario. I've listened to a few of their episodes. It's really good to check out. I got a lot of relationship podcasts that I listen to, but this one is good. And hold on, let's see. Let me be great. Let me be great. What the hey? You probably hear me. I'm trying to get the little box so I can cite. Oh, whoop, there it is. Don't disappear on me. What's happening? Can I just press? Oh, I can just press over. Hey, I just taught myself something today. Oh, people props. Okay. So I was listening one day and I just had to like stop and notate. Dre said this, one of the people that's in the Real Life Love Scenario podcast, but he said, a relationship is not two halves coming together. It's two wholes growing together. No one should complete or should be completing you, as you should complete the relationship, or you should come to the relationship complete. If you have someone there filling the holes, then that creates a dependency on them. Instead of coming to the relationship whole, you came into the relationship with holes someone else needed to fill. And I was like, woo, that's absolutely true. I 100% agree and comply with that. Here's a picture of Jay Shetty, and here's a picture of his book, 8 Rules of Love, which I encourage you to check out because, like I said, I have just got into it not that long ago. I had to pick it up and put it down, but I can't wait to go back and read, like deeply read, highlight, and just take in what he has to say. His whole message as far as 8 Rules of Love. But this was important in an effort to be true to love yourself first. That's where it happens first. It happens inside of you. And Jay Shetty makes this distinction between loneliness and solitude, because oftentimes people rush to get into things because they don't like the space that's created when you have to be by yourself. And he says, Paul Tillich says, said, language has created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, and it has created the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. The difference between loneliness and solitude is the lens through which we see our time alone and how we use that time. The lens of loneliness makes us insecure and prone to bad decisions. The lens of solitude makes us open and curious. As such, solitude is a foundation on which we build our love. Solitude is not a failure to love, it is the beginning of love, which I absolutely love that. So later on in the chapter, while he's talking about like or actually he gives you a list of what to do in solitude, and then he talks about like the rewards of solitude. And so while he's talking about that, Jay says, if we are constantly looking for love or constantly focused on our partner, we'll be distracted from the vital work of understanding ourselves. If we don't understand ourselves, we risk taking on the taste and values of our partner. And that cannot be more true. Actually, that's my personal autobiography right there. Their vision becomes our vision. We might choose to sign on to someone's vision because we admire it. Someone might be a skilled cook whose tutelage we gratefully accept, but we don't want to mold ourselves to someone else simply because we don't know ourselves. And that's facts. So he goes on to say, through choices we make in solitude, we set our own standard for how we want to live and love and be loved. With the space to write our narrative from our own point of view, we gradually overcome the influence of movies, books, our parents, or caregivers' models, or a partner's wishes. We clarify our vision of love. Solitude helps you recognize that there is a you before, a you during, and a you after every relationship, forging your own way even when you have company in love. Then, when our narrative intersects someone else's, we don't make choices based on infatuation or follow someone else's vision of love or passively let things play out without knowing what we want. Instead, we gradually express the standard we've developed to see how it fits with theirs. And when we're in solitude again, we reflect and evolve. And I just wish I had this knowledge when I was younger. And so this actually is not just for the people who are in relationships. This, for me, is actually for young people who are getting into relationships. Like the important thing is to know yourself first. And the important thing is to build skills with yourself first and love yourself first. So here's my affirmations. I went a little long today. It was important. I love myself. My heart is open. I deserve a loving relationship with everyone I connect with. I acknowledge that there are skills needed to maintain relationships of all sorts. Those are my affirmations for today and my affirmations for you. Okay, I did not plan to go almost 40 minutes, but since I'm almost 40, I think that makes sense. So that's it for me this week. I love and appreciate all of those who tapped in and will tap in to this live stream. Catch me next week. I may or may not have a special guest. He said that he was coming, so hopefully he will decide to come to my show. And we will talk about skills and traits you need for a successful romantic relationship. Until then, love and peace to all of you and have the best week.